The Snake and Jake's barn is back.
Yes.
And it's almost like we manifested it back together.
I think we did.
The podcast that doesn't even get recognized in their own town.
Right.
So seemingly feels like I'm kidding. They're not listening to us to make decisions infrastructurally. But we were just talking about that the other week. How
Right.
cool is that? Snake and Jake's is back.
You are looking live from the world headquarters in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the What Podcast. I'm Barry, that's Russ, that's Brian. And I mentioned world headquarters because it's an inside joke, but apparently we're one of those podcasts that doesn't exist here in Chattanooga, according to some media. We can't get any love, so whatever.
That's funny. I didn't know you were going to go there. We can do that for just a second.
Yeah.
We never get recognized as a podcast in this city, and we have, I don't know if I want to say the most popular one in the city, but we certainly do deserve to be recognized.
We have a national footprint, I like to believe. Yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of a big deal. I'll go ahead and say it.
I might have to take some of the blame on that. I'm blacklisted by a lot of people in this town. They don't like me. That might be part of what it is.
Well, I think it's funny. I'd rather be mysterious.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is there was another article that came out on the Chattanoogan, which is a local
online newspaper,
and it's here's a list of all the podcasts from Chattanooga, and every time one of these lists comes out, we always get
never
snubbed.
even get
we
a
never
sniff.
get mentioned. Yeah.
Anywho, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's gotten to a point where I hope they leave us off now.
I know, right?
Just leave us
exactly.
off.
Yeah.
I know. It's better. It's better.
Because people reach out and they're like, they did it again, man.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I
fine.
know.
It's fine.
It's funny. And I also mentioned world headquarters because, guys, we got to do what we love to do every now and then. That's take a field trip, pack up everything, and
Those are fun.
And we got a great show for you today, and it all kind of it's kind of, what's the word? Not funny. It's all bluegrass. We've got a good hour long of bluegrass, and if you've been listening to this show and certainly Brian's other show, Stone on Air, we're not huge bluegrass fans, but what we like to do is go to the source, and by God, we went to the source. I don't know how you could go much more to the source than what we did.
IBMA World of Bluegrass coming to Chattanooga.
International Bluegrass Music Association. Ken White, the executive director, and local bluegrass musician Randy Steele were our guests. What was that, Thursday? Thursday. We met them. They were doing they were going to do a press conference, which they did, for the entire city, and Brian reached out to our mutual friend Randy, and I had already, I'm glad you did, but I was already on Ken's radar to try to set something up, so you got it done quicker, and they were great. I had a blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Along those lines, a mea culpa for a couple of the episode that we did a couple weeks ago when we talked about bluegrass. I said one of the dumbest things I think I've ever said, and I've said some pretty dumb things.
Yeah, those lists are long for all of us.
We were talking about Cindy Pinion, whose name you will hear mentioned in our interview because she is the queen of bluegrass in this region. But I misquoted her because she's very specific about what bluegrass is for her. And I think I was trying to say bluegrass to her doesn't have drums and it does not have any electricity. There's no amplification. And I said no banjo. She is a bluegrass lover through and through. Not electrified, and I don't think drums. And no banjo. That ain't grass. So she's a purist. So, yeah.
That's wrong.
Right? I mean, I might as well have said, I don't even know. No overalls. There's
no stand-up bass ever.
Yeah.
Violin?
No
Who's heard of it?
No clogging. I pick one. No banjo. Maybe the dumbest.
I think you got called out on that too.
Oh, of course I did. The only thing I'm stunned. about is that I wasn't more called out.
Yeah.
I should have been flogged or
I
something.
think but was that maybe when it was because I was surprised, which is equally, maybe not equally as dumb, but close to dumb, that I didn't know that there was not drums usually in a traditional bluegrass setup. I wasn't thinking about that during the Billy Strings thing. And I was like, why doesn't he have drums? It's like, well, because it's a bluegrass act,
That's
idiot.
right. That's right. I think we were going, I don't know, synapses. And I did also want to say, because we got called out on a little bit, and I mean, I don't, Brian, if it feels like I'm throwing you under a bus, I don't mean to, but
I don't care.
I felt like we went a little bit too long about the goose thing last week. Kind of went down a rabbit hole where we were talking about things we don't know the answer to, which is something we try not to do here. We typically
because
like
of the
to pick
rumor
up the phone. Yeah, the
rumor nature.
Yeah, I don't mind mentioning it, but we went a little long, in my opinion.
Well, I hadn't thought about it. Maybe so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. It's the first time I had done much. I don't want to say the word investigation because that's the wrong word, but looking into, reading a little further than the headline and the subheadline on things about Goose that were further that I knew of. And so at that moment, I was a little bit more curious, possibly might be the word. And maybe that's why. But hey, I don't know. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I like I said, and Russ, we've said it from the start. If we don't know something, we typically like to pick up a phone and call the person who has the answer, which we haven't, and I still haven't.
Unfortunately, there's no one to call to get this answer.
Yeah. We typically don't do rumors and all that. So that was kind of
saying is we
a
might
little
have gone
weird
a
for
little
us.
too long on that one. But anyway, wanted to put that out there because I know I've gotten a couple of emails and comments and Reddit stuff, but whatever. I don't worry about that.
Reddit had a field day. Yeah.
But like if I'm wrong about the banjo, I'm gonna be the first guy to raise my hand and say that was just stupid.
Well,
and it was on my part.
One might also say ignorant to Barry.
Ignorant Barry, yeah.
There's a just like the pizza, just like the name
Just like the pizza.
The pizza.
Yeah, I mean, but on top of that too, though, I will say, I mean, it is the talk of the jam band scene. So that's kind of where it comes from. But anywho, regardless, I look forward to the Goose Show at Bonnaroo. I cannot wait for that.
Oh, me too.
Speaking of, before we go into our interview with Ken and Randy, the Who stage lineup came out, as well as some information as to where this stage might be, and it's not going to be anywhere close to us. Right?
No. And in years past, most of the times I don't know anybody on the Who stage. Most of the time. Every now and
that's
again.
That's kind of the point.
I know. But I also like to pride myself on knowing a little more occasionally. Clearly, we're wrong on that a lot. But many times I don't know anything or maybe one. And last year was the exception. I knew like 3. It was the first time that I knew several and was really excited about the Who stage. And when I went to it 3 times, I was impressed with how good it looked and how well I thought it fit into the infrastructure of the entire Centeroo landscape. And poof, now it's gone. I don't know any of the names on this year, but that's back to normal. That's back to how it normally is. What's not normal is way out at, what did we say? We were talking right before in the very
Plaza
in-depth
7.
In-depth pre-show meeting. Plaza 7. Wow, that's nowhere near anything. And yes, of course, my first thought is, well, that's nowhere near us, right? Barry,
right.
Lord Taco, Brian from the show. Yeah, we're not way out on the outskirts. Usually, occasionally, we'll take a run around and take a look, but we're not a whole lot.
Yeah, I want to say
still, that's a long ways away. No matter where anybody is,
it is. We went out to the beer exchange last year at the group Plaza. That's Plaza 5, correct?
Yeah, we weren't even that close at that point,
and that's pretty far out from Centeroo. So this is Plaza 7, so it's even a little more further out.
Yeah, and less about us. I know, hard to believe, right? But
yeah, I mean, if you're in Plaza 7, you're close. So
yeah, you're great.
It's all about who's, as I like to say, about whose ox is being gored. So.
But less about all of that. These bands got to have a little wind out of the sails, just a touch, just a bit. I mean, they're happy to be there. no matter what, these guys and gals are up and comers. They're going to take anything. They'd play in the parking lot of the Waffle House down the road next to the liquor store. Y'all all know what I'm talking about. They would play there. But there's got to be a little. But really, we're not.
A gig is a gig.
We're not. But we're not right next to where all that other stuff is. We're not in the mix. There's got to be a shred of disappointment, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna hate. My first thought is
no. And now that things are starting to become clear, I guess, with lineups. And things like where this will be, we're gonna have Brad and Corey back on. We still need to have Brian Benson on. Brian Benson, for those who don't remember, is the guy who books the lineup. He and Steven. I want to hear their thinking, and we know for a fact that it is being thought about. It's not like a random.
Oh yeah, and it might be that.
Yeah,
this
it might
is
have a
because
good
this
reason.
is what most people. It might be a great move.
Exactly.
It might be. We'll find out in practice. We'll find out.
And especially as we talked at length last week about the potential for selling out, and I really do feel like they're trying to manage the crowd, especially with that many people. So
That's
we're not
one
gonna,
small way to do it.
That is a way to do it. Not as many big acts in Where in the Woods, but bring in the Infinity move things around. So I'm interested to hear the logic behind it.
Well, speaking of that, we got to get to the biggest news of the last week potentially. The Snake and Jake's barn is back.
Yes.
And it's almost like we manifested it back together.
I think we did.
The podcast that doesn't even get recognized in their own town.
Right.
So seemingly feels like I'm kidding. They're not listening to us to make decisions infrastructurally. But we were just talking about that the other week. How
Right.
cool is that? Snake and Jake's is back.
That's
back.
right. It's coming back.
Never been in it before, so it's like I'm all excited about something I've never even been in. Speaking of crowd control, that's where
Right.
everybody wanted to go back in the
Yep,
day.
'cause it's
That's why I
air
never
conditioned.
went. Yeah, I never went because I couldn't get in.
I just walked by and thought, oh, a Christmas themed
It
cabin.
always looked like it was the. I mean,
Okay.
those in the early days, that was before the other.
Yeah.
So like that was the place that never stopped.
Right.
Like no matter what, it was going all the time. Well, now Centeroo's got a little more never stop action going on, and we'll see. But yeah, I guess R.I.P. House of Matroomony. I don't think anybody's gonna miss that.
Well, I think they're still doing matrimony type things. We just don't know where yet. But it won't take up that big footprint. It'll be somewhere else. It's funny you say that, Brian, because I can remember there was that, and the silent disco was always packed, and the line to get into the comedy tent, I always had to laugh at because they would find the shade. Because remember there was that one tree
and
with
all
a pole,
lined. Yeah.
and they would all sit, and it was like a sundial. As the sun moved,
They would start
they
moving
would go
over.
with the shade. It
Yeah.
was pretty funny.
Well, and also because of an AC,
Right.
situation.
That's why you want it in.
Yeah.
I only went to the comedy tent one time. Sorry, Taco. Go ahead.
My one time I went to the Christmas barn, Snake and Jake's. Reggie Watts did a kind of a unannounced surprise stand-up set in there. I just happened to walk in, and he comes out on stage and just starts talking to everybody.
Really?
And it was really cool. I think that was 2018 because he performed 2018.
I was about to correct myself. I said I've only been in the comedy tent once. It was actually twice. Once forever ago, Jim Brewer, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
18 years ago, and then Reggie Watts in that probably that same year, 2018. Yeah. So-
Well, this was 2018. I don't think there was a comedy tent. This was just in Snake and Jake's.
oh, was it gone by then? I guess it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last one I remember was the Conan thing where they put the video screen out in the field between the other and this tent.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it
'cause the
has been
crowd was
gone a
so
long
big,
time.
so-
I guess it has.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah. What's the other?
I want to thank. I didn't. His last name's on not on his Instagram, but Sean, one of our listeners, sent me a direct message to a podcast about MJ Lenderman speaking about his talking about how what his songs are about, and just writing songs. Again, I think that was in response to me saying, I don't know what the hell the guy sings about, but I really like it. So that was a pretty cool pull to throw out there. So I thank you, Sean, for that. And then what about the Oregon Trail video game simulation thing? Do you guys see that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How neat. I don't know what it's there for, and I didn't even finish it, but I'm like, this is cool looking. I don't know how many kids that go to Bonnaroo know what Oregon Trail is.
At this point, probably not a lot, but we get it.
Good for you, for everybody watchers and listeners that know what Oregon Trail is. But what a cool little simulated thing they put together on there.
Well, and along those lines, just thanks to everybody for the Discord, all the recommendations.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Brian, you've touched on that the last couple of weeks, but it's been great. I mean, everything that people have sent, pretty much I've been into.
Yeah, I need to make a round 2. I'll put it together another playlist and get my second round. But I've still been to that point. I've been stuck on MJ Lenderman. Stuck on it. He is the can't miss for me, and Mannequin Pussy might be the other one. I still have trouble saying that. Those two bands, like, I don't know if I'm going to be running to my mom's dinner. Man, I'll tell you what, Mannequin Pussy, that's going to be great.
Yeah, tell us again, Brian. What was your favorite thing about Bonnaroo?
Well, see, last year was beaches, and this year it's Mannequin Pussy. Wait, what?
Yeah. Brian, I've gone over the top.
Yeah, this Bonnaroo thing's getting a little out of hand, buddy.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
But anyway,
I've been stuck on the Colts. This band that I've found through the lineup I've been enjoying them a lot. Yeah,
not the Cult.
I think it's just Colts.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll give it a listen this week.
All right. So as we said, we took a field trip. Randy Steele, for people not from this area. Look him up. What's his band name, Brian?
High Cold Wind. It's got one of the members. Speaking of Bonnaroo, on the Who stage last year with Monrovia, Tyler Martelli is a guitar player for both Monrovia at Bonnaroo last year, who's an exploding name in last year, and he's a guitar player for Randy Steele as well. So
Randy, to me, is one of the better musicians in town, and I've said that for years. I love his recordings.
They do bluegrass right. I mean,
correct.
They do it traditional and they do it right.
Correct.
With banjos.
With banjos.
Yeah, with
and occasionally a drum set, but not usually.
And Ken White, again, the big news, and you'll hear all about it, but this IBMA is a World of Bluegrass, and lots of events stick international or world or national in their name, but this is legit. This is, I think, Brian, you point out, and I think you nailed it. It's kind of like a South by or an Austin City Limits. It's a convention. It's a business gathering. Label people, musicians, everybody's coming to Chattanooga. It had been in Raleigh for 12 years. They are not happy that they've lost it, and Chattanooga is thrilled to have it. And we got an early look. I mean, those guys were great. Gave us almost an hour of their time before they were going to do a press conference. So pretty interesting. What were you want to talk about what your takeaways were going in or coming out?
Yeah, we'll get it on the way out.
All right, let's talk about it. So let's listen to the interview, and we'll be right back. Being the big bluegrass fans that you know we are, we decided we would go to the source. No, seriously, we're very excited. We've got a huge event. I keep wanting to call it a festival. It's not really a festival as such.
A festival is part of the experience,
Right.
but yeah.
Okay. We're here today. Lord Taco, obviously, Brian. I'm Barry, Randy Steele, and Ken White with IBMA.
IBMA.
Which is coming to Chattanooga this fall, right?
This fall, September 16th through the 20th.
Yeah, we're going to
Very good, man.
I'll talk all about it. Very excited. This is a huge event. It's been in Raleigh for how long?
For the last 12 years. And started in Owensboro, Kentucky, then it moved to Louisville, then it moved to Nashville, and then it's been in Raleigh for 12 years. And now Chattanooga, here we come.
We're going to get into the details of it here in a little bit, but I think maybe start chronologically and explain. Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was you who basically said, "Why can't we have it here?" Right, and kind of reached out. Is that
Take all the credit, Randy. It's all you.
I'm trying
right?
to give
That's
it
what
to
I
you,
heard.
man.
Really, I would say a ton of credit goes to Donna L. Like, she was the one that I got in touch with and said, "Hey, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but I've been an IBMA member for years, and they're moving. They're talking about literally in the where should we go. So maybe we should reach out, or if something you guys would think about reaching out." And she took off with it. She really grabbed hold of it with both hands in a way that I wasn't expecting, because it was literally a phone call every day for a couple of weeks about explaining bluegrass culture and, explaining that it's going to be the majority of the people that listen are also going to be musicians, and that there's going to be all this jamming going around town and stuff like that. So only really just the initial signal was just like, hey, has anybody thought about this? But I'd definitely say, Chattanooga tourism and the city really deserve a ton of credit for.
Yeah, that I was going to say. Donna L is with Chattanooga Tourism Company. This is her job, and I remember talking to her when this was announced, and bluegrass is not on her radar, but she was smart enough to say, "Randy, I think knows what he's talking about. Let me look into this."
Yeah, she's a former media member here in the city of Chattanooga too.
For sure,
so for those that are not aware of her background, comes from what we do here with interviewing, discussing the things going on in town. But yeah, it is Donna on top of the bluegrass scene? Probably not.
Right.
Just like many of us aren't.
She is now, though.
She is now.
I was going to say
that's
She
right.
just graduated from IBMA leadership school, so
That's right.
she's on it.
And we're here to educate you guys, so don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll get you up to speed.
It's funny you mentioned the leadership role here. I've got that part of my notes and highlights, which I don't even remember why at this point. But talk about your involvement with or the discussions, the discourse with Chattanooga tourism, because it's not just the city who went after this. It was which is subsidized by the city or through taxes in some way, but it's not a city entity. The Chattanooga tourism isn't. Would you talk about that discussion? Those discussions?
Really, from my point, it really was just about, let me introduce what bluegrass is and let me show you what's been going on at IBMA for the last number of years. I think one of the things that, especially when we first started talking about, was the IBMA that really maybe set Donna up or made her intrigued, was the inclusion aspect of the IBMA pulls apart. It's a big part of the community. Is trying to include as many people in bluegrass as possible. And so I think, really, I would hate to say what Chattanooga tourism did, because I really wasn't a part of that. I really was only a part of just kind of helping them understand,
just
the
through your
bluegrass
contact
culture,
points anyway,
and basically saying, this is what we have going in Chattanooga, Three Sisters, best festival in the state of Tennessee, happens here every
Maybe
year.
the entire Southeast.
Yeah, and we have Boxcar Pinion that happens every May. It's a great traditional bluegrass festival. We have a ton of bluegrass things that happen here in town, and we have a ton of great bluegrass musicians, writers, all of those folks that are here and are moving here. Really, a lot of musicians seem to be moving to Chattanooga.
I'm glad you mentioned Three Sisters, because Chattanooga was on the radar for this many years ago, if I understand correctly, and because of the timing, Three Sisters was fairly new, so it didn't feel right at the time. I'm not out over speaking when I say that, right?
Well, no, I think there were a lot of factors back then. Chattanooga has a lot more going on with facilities, hotels. It's more of a destination now than it was 10 years ago. But yes, Three Sisters is here, and it's important to us that continue and thrive. So figuring out a way to coexist here is important to us.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into the detail, and then we've got more questions. I want to hear from Randy, his perspective, because you've been to over in Raleigh, so you know what it's about. But Ken, like I said at the beginning, it is festival is part of it, but it's so much more. So what all?
What is the World of Bluegrass Festival
Well,
coming to Chattanooga?
the
in
World of
September?
Bluegrass,
What is it?
it's a week-long celebration of bluegrass. It starts with a business conference on Tuesday through Thursday. So with a big expo hall. So if you want to go play a new Martin guitar or an old Martin guitar, or look at instruments. Expo Hall is going to be your place to go. If you do any business in bluegrass, if you're a record label or a publication, they're all going to be there. If you're an artist needing to make relationships, this is the place to be. So anybody that does business in bluegrass is going to be here for those 3 days at least.
Internationally,
yeah. From all over the world. One of the things that we do is we have an international band grant, and so what we do is we ask bands from all over the world to submit, and then we choose one and we give them a grant to come here to perform at World of Bluegrass, and then in the next year, the next summer, we set up a tour for them where they play festivals all around. So it's a way for international bands to come here and create an audience overseas, which is really hard for a bluegrass band to do. But World of Bluegrass. So the conference during the day, but in the evenings is showcases in local venues. We call it the Bluegrass Ramble. And we've identified 5 clubs down near the Choo-Choo area where there's going to be tons of bluegrass going on in the evenings. This is an opportunity for bands to play in front of live audiences, but also to get in front of talent buyers. Talent buyers want to see, what is this band, not only what do they sound like, how do they connect with an audience? So this is a big part of it. And not just new bands, but established bands come too, because this is a way for them to show kind of what their latest and greatest is. So that's going to be exciting.
So to the average person who doesn't really care about the
business part,
or where the bands go from here, or where the convention, what happens in the future, they're just interested in something to do in their town.
Well,
right. What is that? This is so multifaceted. It's not necessarily buy a ticket, go to show. It's far more intricate than that.
Well, if you're talking about the Ramble part in particular,
yeah, I guess
if there's a local person here in Chattanooga that's bluegrass curious, then getting a ticket to the Ramble, you're going to get to see 30 bands in 5 different venues. It's one of those experiences where you can pop in and take in as much or as little as you want, and it's going to be exciting and vibrant. So that's a good public-facing part of that week. But from there, then Thursday night we call it the biggest night in bluegrass. It's the Bluegrass Awards. IBMA Bluegrass Awards will be at Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Auditorium, and it's shaping up to be a really big show.
That's a 3,500 capacity. Is that right, Barry, at Memorial? Maybe
3
to 4,000, our local theater. So multiple events all over this downtown city for the most part, with South by Southwest being in the news. Their music portion of their festival has been reduced, or if not all eliminated. And then, like a thing like Austin City Limits. This has got to feel like that a little bit, the way it's designed, right?
It really does, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think of other things like this. Sundance is the only other one.
Well, I just came from Big Ears this past weekend.
In Knoxville.
Yeah, and again, a smorgasbord of amazing music there. And it took me a minute when I got there to realize I didn't have to sit there if I wasn't into the music. I could get up and go somewhere else.
Yeah, another venue.
That was a little distracting, but also as a fan, it was liberating because there was just so much going on. I could just take it all in. But yeah, South by Southwest, I think, is a good analogy in that regard. There's a lot going on, and you can dip your toe in or just dive right in, either way.
All right, so now I'll ask you, Randy, because you come at this as a musician, a fan, you're in the business, you're involved in this. So from your perspective, what was it like going, and what do you anticipate here?
When it was in Raleigh, right?
In Raleigh.
Yeah.
In Raleigh. So I think for me, here locally, the biggest thing that I've seen, and this has already been taking place, I've been watching the amount of bands that are coming to Chattanooga right now to play bluegrass, to try to build audiences here. Because if they get into that world of bluegrass, they get into that ramble, they want to show all those talent buyers a big crowd. Or so if you're a band like, I don't know if you paid attention, but Shadowgrass just got booked to play Riverfront Nights.
I do know Shadowgrass.
If you watch them over this last year, they've been to Barrel House 2 or 3 times. They've been coming to Chattanooga basically every other month or every third month, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to build a crowd.
Interesting.
And that's happening all over the place on every level of bluegrass musician, because it is important. You get here, you get in front of a good crowd that knows who you are, and you have talent buyers out from other festivals. They're going to be like, oh, man, we should definitely get Randy Steele and Hot Cold Wind out here to come play this, because we'll see how the crowd did, how they reacted to him. So to me, that's the biggest change that I really have already seen. And I think, too, there's not really – I haven't seen Bristol Rhythm and Roots. Have you guys ever been to Bristol Rhythm and Roots? Where you go right downtown, they turn every single business into a venue. The barber shop, there's a show going on. Every show for like 2 blocks, every place for 2 blocks. And this is going to have a miniature version of that feel, but it's just bluegrass music. On top of that, bluegrass.
Just bluegrass music? Come on now. Go ahead. Sorry.
I meant that in a good way.
Okay.
I meant that in a good way.
Got it.
Just bluegrass.
None of that other stuff. Just bluegrass. That's what we're saying.
But I'm a bluegrass guy, so I like it. I look forward to those banjo intros that you loathe so much, Brian.
Sorry. But what your experience when you were in Raleigh, North Carolina, a city of the great state of North Carolina? I mean that sincerely. I love the state. I've never been to Raleigh. I mean, everything I could tell when I bought a subscription to their paper for a week, so I could do some research, and everything I could tell, the city loved the event. The media loved the event. The Reddit pages, and Reddit hates everything. And Reddit, I couldn't find it. I was looking for a reason. As Randy,
they left.
You know where I come from.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a reason to say this is not as cool as everybody says it is.
Left for a reason.
And
right.
I'm looking around to find one with the confirmation, looking for confirmation bias, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it on Reddit. Couldn't find it on Twitter. Couldn't find it anywhere. Raleigh loved it.
Everybody loves bluegrass. They just don't know it.
Well, everybody loves a good time, certainly.
Yeah.
And live music is generally a good time. But how does Raleigh lose it to Chattanooga? Is it them losing it or us getting it? Chattanooga getting it?
A little of both.
Yeah,
I would say, and I'll get to that one. But I also want to say there are 4 components to World of Bluegrass. On the weekend is the festival component, which is going to be the biggest public-facing part. But as far as Raleigh goes, if we were any other business conference, we would change cities every year or 2. So the fact that we were in Raleigh for 12 is amazing.
It's a long time.
It is. And I've only been in my role for like a year and a half. So when I jumped in and saw how the event went down in Raleigh, I was amazed, because after 11 or 12 years, they knew how to do it. The challenge for coming to Chattanooga is we're inventing it from scratch.
And this is a foreign concept to the city of Chattanooga.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, we're starting to get, the city's getting cooler and more fun and more eclectic all the time. But we're always a little behind the Raleighs, a little behind the Atlantas, a little behind Charlottes and those kinds of cities. But I'm excited as I can be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're here today.
Yeah,
Well,
it's gonna be
so are we, and I think that's part of what drew us to Chattanooga was the people. I mean, my first introduction was Donna L. I met her in Huntsville at a Music Cities conference, and if you've met Donna L., the enthusiasm and the energy is palpable.
Yeah, she'll be okay when she comes out of her shell. Won't she?
I've been working on her with that. But then I got to meet the rest of the Chattanooga tourism team, and got to meet some folks from the city here. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about the people and the relationships, and they just kind of won us over.
I think, I don't remember, Ken, if we spoke, I was still at the paper at the time. I'm not there anymore, but I do remember talking to Donna L. and some other people with the city and hearing that it wasn't just one person or one entity. In fact, that would have been a deal killer, right? If it was one person trying to drive this train, it was
Very
the fact
much.
that so many people bought in immediately and said, how can we help, right?
Totally. I mean, at the end of the day, this experience is all about the people. World of Bluegrass is just a blank canvas that the people make the experiences within, if that makes sense. So all the beautiful things that are going to happen is because of the musicians that show up and the fans that show up and the support staff that help make it happen.
Do you remember, either of you off the top of your head, the 5 venues where things are going to be held? And did they reach out? I mean, did you choose them, or did they reach out and say, we would like to be one of the hosts, or how does that work?
Well, one of the things that we wanted to happen for the Ramble was we wanted it walkable. In Raleigh, they don't have a lot of downtown venues, and the venues that we had, it was quite a trek. So when we were scouting here, it was important that everything was within 5-10 minute walk. So Barrel House Ballroom is a cornerstone. Then Hi-Fi Clyde's right down the street, and then Songbirds there. Over in
Across
the
the
Choo-Choo.
street, literally.
All within about 2 blocks of each other.
Exactly. Then if you cross over to the Choo-Choo, we're looking at the Comedy Catch and Gate 11.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We'll also have showcases back at the Convention Center, but that's a little bit more of a trek.
It's still walkable.
I think
that's
so.
Still pretty walkable.
That's always been the great thing that I've heard about Chattanooga is people love the fact they can drive here from wherever, park their car on a Friday, and leave on Sunday and not get in the car again. So
that was a big selling point for us.
Absolutely.
And to that, I mean, we're just talking about the official Ramble showcases. There's going to be, as Randy said, there's going to be activations all over the city, and I'm already hearing lots of things bubbling up about people wanting to put unofficial showcases together.
I'm glad you just said unofficial, because I was just thinking that this has got an organic feel to it. That if I'll just use an example of one down by the river, Friends of Mine Bar, the Home Bar. It's a newer place in town. If they want to have a bluegrass night because everybody else is doing bluegrass,
we want that to happen.
then that's going to happen. It sounds like.
Yeah.
It's not sanctioned necessarily.
Well,
But it sounds like that opportunity is available to anybody.
Very much so.
The buskers, from buskers to business owners.
Yep. I fully expect bluegrass musicians are going to descend like a plague of locusts on this town.
It's going to be banjo.
I say, come on, bring it on.
Hide the kids,
everywhere.
hide
Just
the
I
silverware.
love you. I've been talking about it my whole life. Come
Banjo intros every third song. It's going to be great for you, Brian.
on. Rocky Top on the hour.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be great. Again, it gives local businesses an opportunity to put their own spin on it too.
And along those lines, I feel like we need to give a shout out. We did a little bit earlier to Three Sisters, the Bright family, George and his
great
3
people.
sisters. They're the hosts. Their dad Fletcher started that thing. They're involved. If tell me how they are. I know they gave their blessing, and you guys were smart to ask.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
my first thought was, real quick before you go, I want you to answer that as long
Sure.
as you want. But my first thought was, what are we doing? Trying to
Yeah.
ruin our own festival?
Yeah.
We got a great festival. We
A
just want to
great
throw it out
festival.
or something? That was my first thought.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I quickly realized that was not the case. Can you talk about that, how that came together? Because that just seemed like a deal breaker to me.
Well, it was a concern of ours for sure, because by its nature, IBMA is not a presenter or a festival producer. It is just one piece of our event. So why would we want to harm something that's already flourishing and growing?
Yeah.
So-
For those, Three Sisters, we've been doing this, 15, 20 years?
Pretty close
Most
to
of
that.
the century,
for sure.
anyway. Yeah, and it's
for
one of the
those who
most-
don't know, it's one of the best festivals, as you said, in the state, maybe the South. They bring in the very best,
Free
and it's
every
free.
year.
I was going to
It's a
say that I
gift.
talked to George and
$0.
Yeah, I mean they have a world-class talent there.
Absolutely.
So
Infamous String Dusters last year.
It's always the best
pops
of
in
the
my head
best.
immediately,
yeah,
but
Sister Sadie,
Yeah.
Brothers Comatose. Yeah, it's
Yonder Mountain many years ago. But names you've heard every year. Names you know.
And just real quick, just because I know, but it's sort of similar to you calling Donna L and saying, "Hey, I got this idea." George Bright went into his dad Fletcher's, and I got this crazy idea. And an hour later, let's do it.
Well,
so I love how that sort of happens.
I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and back in the 80s, they had a free downtown festival sponsored by Kentucky Fried Chicken. And, Doc Watson, Peter Rowan, David Grissman, Tony Rice, they all played there. Newgrass Revival. And it was free. And George was inspired by that. And he's like, why can't we do that here? and they can.
Well, you can if you pay for it.
Well, he can.
yeah.
I can't do it, but he can.
Anything with money.
In general, you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we don't want to interfere with that at all, and it's
And they butt up. They come back to back. Almost. Right?
Yeah, and that was a concern.
Could you get bluegrass fatigue potentially?
No, that's
no,
not,
That's an impossibility.
That's not a thing, Randy.
That's an impossibility. Such
Yeah,
thing.
let's talk again in a little while.
I think it's important to us not to feature the same bands that they're going to have.
Right, sure.
Just so that we don't compromise their event.
And I also wanted to mention Cindy Pinion, the boxcar Pinion. That's her dad, her late father. She's been doing that fest. She and her sister have been putting that thing on forever and ever. So are they involved at all, or are they just with the blessing?
Well, I know that IBMA has been doing. Cindy has a weekly bluegrass thing that she does on Friday nights, and then she has a second Saturday thing that she does in North Georgia at this church that she's been getting going on. It's been really, really cool on top of her regular normal bluegrass fest. So Cindy Pinion is bluegrass to me in this town. I mean, she's a heartbeat. Honestly, if it wasn't for Boxcar Pinion Memorial Bluegrass Festival, I don't think I would even be into bluegrass. It was one of the things that I took my family to when I was just first starting to play the banjo and first started to get into it. And that family feel of that festival, I mean, it really did just change my outlook on music festivals in general, but really what bluegrass was, because you really saw it. It really is this huge community of musicians, in all varying forms, good or bad. So Cindy's, you're going to see her today. I know she'll be here, and she'll have all of her stuff out to promote. She's such a big part of bluegrass that I don't see any way that she's not involved in some form or fashion.
Russ, I'll get you a copy of one of her stickers, bumper stickers.
I've got one. I've got several. Yeah.
Yeah, for people not from Chattanooga, you've seen these bumper stickers, and I don't care where you live, anywhere in the world,
everywhere.
They are all.
Or you've seen one manipulated into something else. That's a version.
We stuck a few all over Europe with one time when we went, and we got a few in Montana. We stuck.
Nice.
She gives them out, so it's pretty good.
I want to ask a generic question with bluegrass music that just popped into my head. Randy and Ken, both of you could speak to this. Does it seem like the bluegrass community is far nicer to each other and get along better as an overall genre than, say, alt rock, indie rock, or any other pop music? It feels like there's a camaraderie, that it's not as much of a competition amongst each other. Maybe I'm looking at all of it wrong, but it feels like it's a strong community, no matter if you're in Europe, Montana, Raleigh, or Chattanooga.
And the great thing is that, like I said, it's a lot of musician based audience. A lot of people play, so
it's like baseball. I mean, we grew up playing baseball.
That's a great way to put that. I can't play ball on a high level, but I know how to play it fundamentally, and I watch it, and it means more to me because of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our audience is a lot like that.
Yeah, but the rock guy playing guitar, watching the rock show, gets pissed off that guy's on stage and he's not.
You're right.
I don't see that as much in the bluegrass.
The bluegrass guys are like, thank God I'm not on that stage.
Yeah,
turn it down.
So nerve-wracking.
But I mean, to somewhat answer your question, I mean, for them, that's by its nature. That's what it was, right? It was get together at the end of the day and pick a little.
Inclusive string band music. That's really how it was all brought about, was old string band music in coal mines in Kentucky getting moved into popular country music in the 50s,
Yeah, community is a big part of all that. Whether it's picking on the porch or now if you're picking on the stage. Another great thing about bluegrass is it doesn't matter if you're 9-year-old just starting out or if you're a Grand Ole Opry member. We have access to those people. We don't have to have a wristband to go talk to Rhonda Vincent or Ricky Skaggs or Vince Gill. Obviously they're probably not going to put themselves in too many of those situations. But at IBMA, you have an opportunity to talk to serious professionals, and I've seen jam sessions with those 9-year-old kids. Who have you got to jam with?
And I've got, oh man, at different versions of these festivals, I got to jam with huge people that I never ever thought I would be able to play with. Mostly, I've gotten to play with one of the McCurry brothers one time in a jam that just happened to pop up where I was just around.
McCurry's played here, the Three Sisters, many times.
Got to play with Sam Bush. Got to play with Sam Bush at IBMA.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. And but just because IBMA is coming to town, I've gotten to meet a bunch of different folks. CJ Lewandowski, who's the main for Poe Ramblin' Boys, a band I adore, have been following for a number of years. Now I get to talk to him all the time. He's come to Chattanooga, and he's like, "What's good venues in Chattanooga? What do you think?" It's like that's the best part about it, honestly.
How long, Randy, have you been in the IBMA as a member?
I have been probably, I think, 6 years.
Okay, so
I know I have tried. The majority of my relationship with IBMA is being turned down for the World of Bluegrass Ramble. I've been turned down, I think, like 4 years in a row. I got my fingers crossed this year.
Yeah.
Boy, at this point, I'd be like, screw those guys.
So now the real goal comes out.
Yeah, you guys are seeing. That's the whole reason
That's the whole
I was like,
reason
you
he
know
raised
what?
his hand.
If I can't go to them, maybe they'll come to me.
There's
Well
nothing
played.
wrong with that, man. Work the room.
Well played.
Work the scene.
I got to tell my Dale McCurry story because he was at Bonnaroo several years ago and he was signing autographs at like 5 o'clock, and I happened to be in the area where it was. And I said, I'm gonna go get in line and shake the man's hand. He was there with one of his sons, and a photographer named John Goldman came up and saw me. We'd met over years of doing Bonnaroo, and he was like, "Why don't you get him to sign the picture in the magazine that I took?" So I have a picture of me standing with John, with Dell behind us with the magazine.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that's
I was
really
like, this
cool.
is one of the most surreal things I've ever been a part of.
You don't get access to Jay-Z like that.
No, that's
Cage
true.
the Elephant's not going to sit around and go through your pictures and take
Yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
Might be swell enough guys, but
You mentioned the ticketing and the access sort of thing. How does that work? Is there an all access? I can get an all access and do everything. I can a la carte it. How does for people listening? How they?
Yeah, it's gonna. There is no magic super pass. I wish there was, but each of those 4 different sections will have its own individual ticket, so you can do as much or as little as you want. You can buy a ticket to the Ramble and just do that. You can buy a ticket to the festival and just do that, or award show. If you buy a conference pass, then Ramble is included in that. So,
Do you have a sense of numbers, like how many businesses, label people, industry types will come to this type of thing? How many fans do you expect? How many musicians? Do you have any kind of?
well, see, that's part of the problem. Is this is a whole new paradigm here.
Yeah.
I will say, I think conference attendance is usually in the 1,500 to 1,800 folks. But as far as public attendance of the Ramble and the festival, that's still to be determined.
Okay, gotcha.
the speaking of the Ramble Festival Convention Center aspect of it, what is the cornerstone here? What is the if someone's like, hey, I'm gonna check out one thing. I got time to come down for a day or two or one night. Is it a
Well, it's going to
main event, like main venue kind of night, the crescendo of the week?
the main event will be the Friday night or Saturday night of the festival.
And that's the Memorial Auditorium?
No, actually, that's going to be down here in the city center.
Okay.
We didn't talk much about that, but it's going
Okay,
to be
good. We need to talk about that.
well, if you want to.
Yeah. Yes, please. No, so I got turned around when you said Memorial earlier. I thought that maybe was what you were talking about as being that.
Well, we considered that, but part of the reason to come, and part of what Chattanooga Tourism's goal is to really create energy in a vibrant downtown.
Which we got.
And
Chattanooga's
yes,
got.
for sure. I mean, I know the Friday night concerts here are a big damn deal. Pardon my French. But so what we were looking to do is do 3 stages in a contiguous footprint right here. So we're looking at the Miller Park stage, Miller Plaza, and then putting a stage over here in Patton Square. So
Okay.
there's
right in the city center.
Nice.
Because we've got the riverfront, Ross's Landing, that we have a lot of events at. That would be my first thought. Well, that's where it's going to be.
Well, it would probably be easier to do it on the river, I'll say.
Well, it's already built for that.
For the logistics. But I think Chattanooga Tourism feels like those events don't draw as much revenue to downtown. They kind of swoop in. People
Well, that is
buy
a
corn
debate
dog and
every year.
leave.
That's a debate every year, no matter what the event is. You got somebody who hates it and somebody who loves it from a business commerce standpoint.
Right.
Also, my first thought as you were speaking of it is that to have a unique, original event. Let's not go to the same place, which Chattanooga has most of their live.
That feels like everything else you're doing when you described it. I was like, well, that's like what everything else you're doing.
Well,
Move
yeah.
around. Will it be activities going at the same time at all three places, or will it?
We've got the sets kind of staggered,
Okay.
So that you can actually again
Cool.
walk around and catch as much or a little as
So
you
is
want.
that a ticketed, gated event on its own?
It will be.
Okay.
Uh,
Because this is a difficult area. It's hard to explain on a
On a podcast?
an audio, even with some video. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's a difficult area to.
It
fence
presents
off,
some
'cause we tried to
logistical
do it.
challenges. We love a challenge.
You're gonna
right?
learn, figure it out.
Exactly.
Nice.
We're gonna learn a lot.
Cool.
It's a good setup though. I mean, what's the whole perimeter and being able to walk is going to be a lot different than, especially for the folks who are traveling.
Are you going
Showing
to play?
I don't know. Fingers crossed. I got
Still don't know yet.
Randy's gonna play.
I'll
He's gonna
say
play
that-
every night.
Got to play somewhere.
well, we talked about other venues that would be having, some things. And there's a couple of other venues I know that are already talking about having showcases and. So be on the lookout for all around official and unofficial.
Yep.
And we should have said, I should have said earlier, if you don't know Randy Steele's music, you should look it up. He's
High Cold Wind.
one of the very best in town.
Oh, thank you.
And I've
sure.
said that for years and years.
The
so.
best banjo intros I know.
Sounds amazing. I was trying to come up with something better.
Couldn't resist.
All right, Brian. What else in your notes?
I
What have
gotta
we
ask
missed?
this. So is this true or not, Randy? Your uncle was a member of the Aquarium Rescue Unit?
Yeah. Paul Henson.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so Colonel Bruce Aquarium Rescue Unit did 2 albums for Capricorn, and they had one
In the 90s?
Yeah, they did that live one from Athens, and they did Mirrors of Embarrassment. Colonel Bruce was having health problems. I can't remember exactly why he left. He was having health problems, but for some reason he left. They still had a contract, and they decided to keep it. And they changed the band around, and it just became Aquarium Rescue Unit. So the album that they put out, they put out one called The Calling. And then Paul was also a member of O'Teal and the Peacemakers when O'Teal Burbridge had his band.
Yeah, O'Teal
And
now
so-
part of the Dead and Company.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, when I was like 16, I was first starting to play. Like, I got to go to Super Jam in Athens. We traveled all around with them. They were opening for Blues Traveler at the time in the 90s, and we were going to all
Horde
that.
Festival, they were probably doing a lot
I
of
met
that
Derek Trucks when we were both like 15 years old.
Well, there's my note next on there was...
And you still can't get in?
I can't get in. I can't get in.
You should have led with this
we're
story.
about the same age as Derek Trucks, so I was like, that was my note here, that surely you spent a few minutes with Derek.
Dude, let me tell you a Derek Truck story.
Tell me.
All right, so we're at Athens Theater, old Athens Theater before it burned, right? Derek Trucks is opening up for Aquarium Rescue Unit.
So he's a child.
He's a child. His
Yeah.
parents are there. He's a child. He's probably 14, and I think I'm a year older than him. Like maybe 15 or 16.
Yeah, I meant
So
young person anyway, but yes, actual child.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally a child.
Yeah.
Middle schooler. And at Athens Theater, the way they have the backstage set up, there's actually like, before it burned anyway, I have no idea what it is now, but there was like a little access way that you could sit up on the backstage, but you're a level above. And so me and my buddy, because we were with our parents too, we didn't want to be with our parents.
Of course not.
We snuck up to the top, and then here comes somebody up there behind us, and it's Derek Trucks, who probably doesn't want to be with his parents either.
Yeah.
And so there's like
He
three.
might want to be with his parents, actually. I don't know.
And we watched the whole Aquarium Rescue Unit show, and the band at this time is like Jimmy Herring on guitar, Kofi,
Who's with Panic now?
Yeah.
Kofi Burbridge was obviously still alive. He's playing piano and flute, and he just slays. And they kind of did, after Colonel Bruce, they kind of did the Spinal Tap drummer thing. Jeff Sipe was with them for a little while, but they moved around to a couple different guys. I can't remember who was playing
I
drums.
guess
with
Matt
them.
Mundy was out of the band at that point.
Matt Mundy was already gone. He was gone before Bruce left. He had kind of backed off. Interesting note, though, I've gotten a chance to pick with Matt Mundy here recently a couple times because he's around town. He's in North Georgia.
Right. Awesome player.
Well, I've got
yeah.
I've got a quick Derek Truck story. So I got to interview him several times, and he's one of the nicest people ever. And I told him that as soon as we got on the phone. I said, and he said, just that's the way I was raised. He said, in fact, he used to go to these competitions. I guess they had them.
The blues
Johnny Lang and Bonamassa, they're all about the same. So they're coming up. They're the Wonder Kids, Wonder kind.
Yeah.
And anyway, one of them, I don't remember if it was Bonamassa or Johnny Lang, but pitched a fit. Just, I'm not carrying my own guitar, that kind of thing.
Yeah, those electric guitar players, man.
and here's Derek. He's just standing watching. All of a sudden, his dad goes, "Wow!" And Derek's like, "What did I do?" He said, "Nothing. But if you ever do that."
Awesome. I was thinking, man, if that was my kid.
Yeah, that's what you got. It was taken care of.
Awesome.
So,
All
Ken,
right.
you mentioned earlier that I don't remember how you worded it. If it was up to you or up to the organization, it would be moved. The event would move a lot. I'm guessing that is just to showcase as much as possible. What is the long-term view? I'm guessing you don't have an answer for
I didn't
that.
say that. I didn't say I was wanting to move it every year because it's going to take us a while to figure out. No. No. It's just I think we've committed to at least 3 years here in Chattanooga.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that'll give us and Chattanooga time to see if this is something.
Sure,
that's
yeah. I don't
viable.
expect this festival to necessarily be Chattanooga's forever. That was not my
Well,
first
well,
thought.
why not?
But it was kind
12
of
years,
I
at
was going.
least.
That-
Maybe
Yeah.
13. We got to do one more.
Exactly.
that is it's in the car. There is no set
There
goal here necessarily, other than to just keep doing it for as long as.
Yeah, as long
Can.
as people show up, as long as we can keep the association viable.
Because as I'm sure
Yeah.
you know, Ken, I mean we've been running through some festivals here recently in the city after having them all of my adult life, all my more than adult life, and it's bumming a lot of us out.
Sure. Well,
that we don't have a yearly guaranteed thing we do here in town. That's on a bigger stage level, right? We got a lot of small stuff, but Riverbend and Moon River came here, and they were so successful for so long, and so my first thought was, well, okay, great for a year or two, okay.
well,
But
I would,
1 or 2 or 3 is better than 0.
Captain Obvious here, event production is hard.
Yeah,
and
expensive,
especially post-COVID. So I'm not surprised about Moon River and Riverbend.
I'm not either.
But for us, it's important to kind of grow into whatever this experience is. Obviously, first year we want to make a big splash, but we're looking for a place to grow, and Chattanooga is primed for us. I would say I look at Chattanooga kind of like I look at, Austin and Nashville in the 70s. It's an affordable place for artists to live and make their art. Nashville, musicians can't afford to live
Now
there
they
anymore.
call it what, Los Angeles East,
yeah,
for
or
musicians in
Nash
Nashville.
Vegas, so Chattanooga is vibrant, and so why wouldn't we want to be a part of building something here? I think.
I should have asked you this very first. What is your title? Actual title?
I'm the executive director of the International Bluegrass Music Association.
Thank you.
And you, as you mentioned earlier, you just took that position recently. But you've been a player.
Oh yeah,
and involved in
got-
this for a long time. Would you speak to your history of
my roots.
playing and your music roots and
I
how you
got
got to this role?
I got a banjo for Christmas when I was 12, and me and my sister played in bluegrass bands growing up. And then I heard Tony Rice play, and I'm like, I can't do that on the banjo. So I picked up the guitar, and that led me to playing all kinds of styles and all kinds of things. I wound up moving to Nashville and playing in some bluegrass bands, traveled all over the country. Actually, I was at one of the early World of Bluegrasses in Owensboro, the first few, actually. So I saw this organization as it was starting out, and these events as they were starting out, and it was exciting for a youngin.
Yeah, it says you play the Grand Ole Opry, Telluride.
Yeah.
Is it true?
It's even true.
You you studied jazz music early on, so you just
For
trying to
sure.
hit all the foundational music of America or
Well,
of the world.
hey, there's only two kinds of music, good and bad. Is that Duke Ellington? Yeah. So when I heard Tony Rice and David Grisman, that was my gateway into jazz. And then from there, Miles Davis, it just blew my mind. So when I went to college the second time, I went to music school, and they didn't have a bluegrass degree up there where I was from. That was kind of a new thing. So I played in jazz bands, and I got to study with a really great bebop guitarist, Jimmy Rainey, who recorded with Stan Getz back in the day. He was a big influence for me. So I like to say jazz for my head and bluegrass for my heart.
Well, you certainly have the fundamentals covered.
Yeah.
With jazz and bluegrass of
if you can
string
play
music
I'll
and
say
horns.
if you can play bluegrass, you can play anything.
It's true.
So
I mean, Jerry Garcia was the bluegrass guy of the Dead. Bob Weir was the rock guy. They had kind of their own little. Everybody had their own little part. We talk Bonnaroo ad nauseum on this show, sometimes to an absurd, ridiculous level.
Every
So we
week.
can't get out of here. Yeah, every single freaking week.
Whether we want to or not.
So we can't get out of here without asking at least, Randy, have you been to Manchester during June? Have you been to
The
Bonnaroo?
Bonnaroo is gig time for me, so we the same thing as IBMA. I've tried to get into Bonnaroo a bunch of times,
But you've not even attended a
I've
day?
never had a chance to. And I also have my regular job keeps me from being able
Chattanooga
to
Fire
go,
Department for
go for
those,
like a full weekend. When that's the problem with the shift work, like fire department. When you're working.
Yeah.
There's not really a way,
Yeah.
You're working.
What about
holidays,
you,
whatever.
Ken? You been to the farm?
I have not. I for the
We
last
got to get you guys there.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm fixing to retire, so I'm in good shape this year.
well for the last
Tire.
yeah, what's that?
Well, that's the fire department.
Yeah.
I've been living in Kansas for the last 30 years, so the commute has been hard to go to.
A little bit of a
Bonnaroo.
drive.
But now that I'm in the area, I hope to do that.
A little bit of a
It's
drive.
interesting you went to Big Ears because that's the same founder, Ashley Capps. Big Ears is his baby. He founded Bonnaroo, but Big Ears is, you can tell, that's where he puts a lot of his energy.
Well, as a
and
jazz
heart.
fan, that it was off the charts for me.
Yeah, it's cool.
One last thing. Does this Billy Strings thing just blow my mind away and nobody else's, and they just come used
It's
to
amazing.
It is.
What's
It's all
what's
of our-
going on with
Yeah, it's wild.
I can't wrap my brain around the popularity, the amount of. I mean, this is he the biggest bluegrass artist in the history of the genre? I know that's a difficult question to just say out loud to such an old.
No, it's not. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, nobody's done stadiums before. This dude.
I mean,
is
one
Yeah.
after
So
another,
it's
after
true.
another, after to the rafters. It's amazing.
and they're great shows. That's the best part about it. They're
are.
fantastic shows.
And they're bluegrass.
And they're bluegrass. It's
I know.
full-on
I
bluegrass.
thought it was going to be something a little. I was like, surely it's not just bluegrass. No, it's
Yeah.
That's
There's
how
a
big,
banjo intro.
That's how big it is. It got him there. That's how
and I
big
had
this is.
I'm so happy I went, but I still couldn't believe
It's
it.
amazing.
I'm a month out or away from it, and I'm still thinking this is wild. But
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Big deal. It's a very big deal, right?
Yeah, just like I'd mentioned when we were talking to the guys that, and I can't remember. I do a few podcasts here and there. I don't remember what I talk about when and where, but I was absolutely looking for a reason to not like this. Like I thought there's and I wasn't even just trying to be that way. I just thought you guys are forcing something. You guys, when I say the city, our city, we just lost a couple of music festivals. As long-timers here on the show will know, because we mention it here and there, and with the frustration we've all three and the whole city has had with losing a heritage indigenous festival we created as a city 40 years ago, and then one, Moon River, that just came in and used us in the best way possible. And we lost him too. And so when I thought this, I was like, they're just pulling there's a Tennessee special events fund, some kind of actual. Finally, the Tennessee legislator did something good in this state and allocated money for things like this. And I just thought they pulled some strings. They got this money and they're making this thing that nobody really cares about. Wrong. Yes, they got the money. Yes, they pulled the strings, but it's a great thing, and I cannot wait. It's gonna be a great time in September of this year.
And if you don't live here and you don't like bluegrass, you're wondering why is this podcast talking about it? It's the same reason we talked with the folks from South Star down in Huntsville and any other festival that we talk about. It's because it's all relative. It's all how it works. It's the sausage making stuff. It's, why does Govball work, and why does any of the others that we've
Might
talked
have
to?
some other festivals around the southeast-ish we'll be talking about soon enough. So
Correct.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it's fun stuff. I know Bonnaroo is why we're here, but let's be honest. There's always so much we can talk about a barn with people having a party in it, like Snake and Jay. I mean, that's fun. There's plenty to talk about.
No,
but
you're-
we also love all music festivals. I don't go to them like I used to. Like it used to be one of those, how many can I fit into one year?
Right.
Not as much anymore, but I certainly am still fascinated and keep an eye on the entire industry.
Yeah, exactly. They all have some similarities and some differences, and that's what we kind of like to talk about. So I'm fascinated by this one. As we said, Randy, had been going to the one in Raleigh, and I guess he heard that they might be looking to move, and he said, "Why not Chattanooga?" And I love stories like that.
Yeah, next thing you know,
he
boom, there it
raised
is.
his hand and talked to Donna L. at the Chattanooga Tourism Company, who has she has less interest in bluegrass probably than all three of us combined.
Yeah.
But
her background is, I know we mentioned a little bit, but is in media and music radio, and it was with hip hop, R&B, kind of urban styles. Doesn't mean that that's all she likes, but generally, and she worked in it for forever. Generally, when you get the opportunity to work in music radio for as long as she had, that's on another planet,
Right.
from what bluegrass is. And so, but they're
She made
all
it
smart.
happen.
They're all smart people. They know what works.
She latched onto it. So, all right. So there you go. I hope
Yeah,
you
real
guys
quick.
enjoyed it as much as I did.
Hmm. You might notice if you're watching this, I'm not in the bus, and I am.
Yeah, you got a
in
nice little
Nashville.
floral
Got a
background
nice
there.
Background here, yeah.
Getting ready for the Easter almost with those pastels back there.
Yeah, I took a trip to Nashville and tried to take the bus. Made it down I-24 to about Trenton, which is not quite halfway.
Yeah, we buried the lead here.
Yeah.
Taco got stuck on the side of 24 last night.
Yeah, my accelerator cable went out, and so engine runs perfect. But if you hit the pedal and nothing happens, it's no good. So I had to call a tow truck. Sat on the side of the road for a little while, got towed home, got another car, drove back to Nashville. So it was a long day yesterday. But good news is it'll be an easy fix. I've got another accelerator cable. I'll put it back in, and fortunately, this happened before June.
Yeah,
Right.
man.
So-
The fact you still went to Nashville.
I know, right?
She got towed back, got another one of your 5 cars, and then that can
Yeah, was
easily
it-
break down too. And then
Which
drive
girlfriend
over-
left this car? Was this,
Yeah,
was this
I
one of your
considered,
donor cars from an
yeah.
ex?
I considered staying home just because I thought, do I really want to chance it again? I mean, what more could happen? But fortunately, I
God.
made it, and so everything worked out.
I
But
wouldn't have gone to Nashville again until June.
Yeah.
I'd be like, all right, this ain't gonna work for me. But hey, good you made it there, and you made it there with some time left to still have some day, man. So you made some good time. It looked like.
yeah, I still made it there with plenty of time. I, was several hours behind when I wanted to be there, but it all worked out. So.
Real quick, what's the occasion? What are you doing there?
Well, unfortunately, I had a friend who passed away from cancer
Jesus.
recently, and I know.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But that's the occasion. I mean, so
I know, but still, I asked that so flippantly.
Yeah.
Well, it's all right.
Well,
yeah, I
it's-
mean, and this is I was here back in October. Was
Wow.
another friend had passed away from cancer, so
I was getting ready to say this is becoming all too familiar for you.
yeah, I'm tired of making these trips. I mean, I love coming and seeing everybody, but we need a better occasion to get together for sure.
Well, we got one in a couple months, but
Yeah.
glad you made it. Glad you're good, and good get the bus back on the road soon enough.
Yeah, and there's chickens in this room. I don't know if you can hear them in the background, but
Chickens?
yeah, they've got
All
live
right.
chickens in a coop right over here.
No,
so.
I did not hear the chicken.
Hey, see if you can get a couple of them lined up for Camp Nut Butter.
Okay,
Well,
I'll see if I
still
can
wanna
sneak
have
a few out.
livestock. I still
Yeah.
think it'd be awesome. So
In the old days, we could have got away with it. Didn't have to ask. Just bring them.
I still think it'd be hilarious.
I think I can get some eggs though.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an egg joke in there, but they're getting old, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to try to make one.
All right, we've got some more shows lined up. I'm excited about what we have coming.
Yeah, and I will tease this. We don't hardly ever tease coming up from talking about the Snake and Jake things. I'm going to stay on the guy, but I don't know this for a fact, but it could be the fact that the guy that I've been working on since last year who got married with the Beaches officiating the band might have been the last person ever with nuptials in that building now that they're making the
good
change.
point. Yeah.
Might have been the very last one. I don't know. That was late in the weekend. Got to find out. I don't know if that enhances the story or not. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the story's not worth telling anyway. I don't know. We'll see. I'm working on that. And I do hope that they still do, marriages, sort of, kind of, I guess. I don't know. That's a thing you can put out in GA anywhere. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
that'll
Right.
work just fine there. Just pick a spot. That'll work fine. Just in the Grove. That'd be a great place for it.
that'd
But
be nice.
anyway, still going to try to get his name's Brian, so I can remember that. I'm still going to work on it. Brian, if you're listening, call me, man.
Yeah. Speaking of, since we're now into April, it's almost time to start putting your own camp pile at home and making your lists and doing your shopping. And we need to reach out to our Nashville people in Beth, right? Russ,
Nashville.com, the dudes.
I hope-
Jerry and Mike and Brad.
Right?
other Brad, yeah,
Other Brad.
and Beth, yeah.
I hope they'll still have us, and if so, we need to coordinate because those guys bring literally the kitchen sink.
They bring it
we need
all.
to see what we
Yeah.
can contribute.
And I'll tell you a little quick early when we do do's and don'ts and all the preparation episodes as we get closer. That shoe
Yeah,
thing
genius.
that you put on the door, it's like a
Mhm,
shoe
mhm.
organizer. That has become very trendy. It's like picked up a lot. Maybe it has been for years and I just didn't notice it. But when I've seen online, mostly Reddit or whatever, that's becoming the most like, let me tell you about this awesome thing. Because I never saw it till maybe just last year. And it's just an organizer. You put your shoes in it at home. But this is where you throw your ketchup, you throw your, anything that doesn't
Yeah.
need to be refrigerated, your crackers.
It's like a little pantry, yeah.
Yep,
That might be the new must have at a campsite. So
the Mister on the fan.
Oh
Yes, I want to do that too. I'm big into this Mr. Fan idea.
And Brad's idea about Brad Parker's the adult juice box.
Yeah, the little squeeze packs
Squeeze
of apple
packs.
juice and whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah.
little energy packets. Yeah,
Not just for kids.
I'd love it. Yeah, we'll have to add all that. All right. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
No,
I
you
don't think so.
you mentioned, we're trying to line up some other shows and stuff, like with the dude that got married, but I don't want to give too much away, but we do have a few other things in the works that we're trying to get organized and planned. So we got some interviews maybe coming up soon.
Absolutely. Got some label people reached out. I'm excited about that. And I haven't told you guys. Again, I kind of hate teasing, but I don't mind. Heard from the Bonnaroo folks. They have an idea for us, and I don't know what it is. I just know I was
Okay.
Maybe
asked
that
for my
idea is
email.
shut your show down.
Yeah. How about putting facts out there?
I got a good idea. Quit your show.
I'm excited to see what it is, but it's like, can I get your email? Because we have an idea, so I'll
Okay.
just leave it at that. So,
Well,
yeah,
I
it
guess
might-
the last tiny tease is I've almost got an in on 420 Sweetwater Music Festival. That's just for me, not anybody else. I don't know.
talk about teasing.
I'm working on it, but it would be. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't been to 420 in a long time. It's coming up. So, anywho, the difficult part about these lining all this stuff up is that introductory email goes well, right? It goes well. It's all pleasant. But then the continued follow-up, it tends to trail off sometimes.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll
Leave
circle
ya
around
hanging.
we'll circle around after the holidays. Wait, it's April. The holidays. Which holidays?
All right, guys. Thanks. Good show. Enjoyed it. See everybody. Please keep sending those Discord recommendations
Yeah,
or
love it.
emails
Yes, please,
or
yeah.
whatever.
Like, share, all the things.
Exactly. Rate, review, all of that.